Good evening and welcome, everyone. We're just going to spend a moment to let everyone get into the Zoom. I see the participant number clicking up, so very excited to have so many people joining us tonight, but we'll give just a minute more for everybody to get in.
Good to see everybody. Call your friends and tell them to call in. We want as many as we can on this.
Yeah,
We have
we have,
hundreds registered, hundreds. So that number should go up.
still clicking up. We'll begin in a moment. If you're just signing in, welcome. We'll be beginning our webinar shortly.
We already have a question. I don't know if you're seeing that yet, Todd.
Yep. Yep, we'll get to all of it.
Hmm. Yes, we will.
There it is, taken care of. The answer is yes.
Yes, we will.
Okay, well, it's 7:02 Eastern time here. I think we'll consider what we've got a quorum and get started. I'm sure some additional people will be filtering in as we get through our introductions. Uh, Welcome, everyone, to our January Vigor Study webinar. I am Todd Pearson. I'm one of the members of the study team. I'm joined today by uh, Isaac Chen, who is one of the postdoctoral fellows working on the project, and then our two principal investigators, Manuel Garber and John Harris. Uh, we are going to be talking about a lot of different aspects of the study, what it is, what we've been doing, what's coming, um, and have plenty of time for you to answer your questions. Just a few housekeeping matters as we get started. All of you joining this webinar are muted and your cameras are off. So if you have questions, please use the Q&A feature, which you find at the bottom of the Zoom window. We will be monitoring that throughout the course of the evening and try to answer as many of these questions as we can live over the air. Um, this session is being recorded and we will post it on our study website probably as soon as tomorrow so that if you want to go back and review it or share it with someone that is unable to attend live tonight, they will be able to do so. And so, with that, I'd like to kick off our session by introducing John Harris and letting him actually share an exciting piece of personal and professional news.
Yeah, hey everybody. I was just looking through the participant list. It's great to see everybody who's here. I see Jean-Marie Morin, probably from the furthest away, Jean-Marie, in France. So welcome. I do have an update, and many of you are aware, maybe not everyone is aware. So when we started the study 3 years ago, I was at UMass Chan Medical School in Worcester, Massachusetts, the chair of the Department of Dermatology there. As of November 1st, I moved, not that far geographically. I moved from Worcester to Boston. And I'm now the chair of dermatology at what is now called MGB Dermatology, Mass General Brigham. And for those who aren't completely aware, you may have heard of Mass General Hospital or MGH. You may have heard of Brigham and Women's Hospital. Those were separate hospitals affiliated with the Harvard Medical School. So they're the Harvard hospitals, and they are now merged into one. So MGH and Brigham are now one hospital called MGB. I'm the chair of dermatology there. And I am moving. I am there now. I've been there for 2 months. I'm in my third month. We're moving the study team over too, and the research team. We're going to continue to do our vitiligo research that you're familiar with. I will move my clinic there. Everything will transfer out to Boston. Many of you, actually, many patients come from all over the world to my vitiligo clinic. and typically have to fly into Boston and then drive to Worcester. So this will save you that drive. Now in Boston, it's going to be a lot easier for you if that's how you're getting to see me. More importantly, we're going to continue the work we're doing as we always have. You probably won't notice anything different. We're going to continue the VIGOR study and accelerate, even more for the future. I think one of the advantages of being in a new place is meeting new people. You can imagine the Harvard system has lots of researchers who work on lots of things that may be helpful as we study vitiligo, and we're starting to collaborate with them and start to work with them to do even more research than we ever have before. So I think this is great for vitiligo research. It's great for the future of vitiligo, for how we contribute. We're excited about it. I'm excited about it. But wanted to make sure that everyone was aware in case you didn't know that I made the move. Some of you probably won't even know the difference or care, but we'd at least wanted to put it out there so everyone was aware.
Great. Thank you for that. And again, I think as you hit on, John, from the participants' perspective, it should really be no change for them at all. We're working very hard behind the scenes to make sure that it is a seamless experience for the participants in the study. So um, I am going to share my screen for a minute, and I want to talk about. Uh, are you seeing the wrong thing?
Yep.
I gotta switch my screens here. Hold on 1 minute. Reshare here. Desktop 2. There, how's that?
Very good.
Better? Okay, sorry about that. Um, so uh, the first thing I wanted to just quickly give as an overview is what the Vigor study is, because I realize we probably have at least a few people here joining us tonight that are not actually a part of the study. And if you're not a part of the study, we are really excited to have you here, and we hope that you will join our study because you could be a really important contributor to this exciting work that we're doing. The the VIGOR study, which stands for uh, Vitiligo Genetics of Onset and Relapse, is a longitudinal study, which means we follow people over time. And our goal is to identify the factors that contribute to the onset or worsening of vitiligo. And the way that we are accomplishing this is not to just only study individuals with vitiligo, but specifically to recruit and follow the relatives of people who have vitiligo. So if you are related to someone who has vitiligo, you actually have an increased chance of developing vitiligo yourself. And by joining our study and allowing us to follow you over time, we are hoping to identify factors that contribute to the onset of vitiligo. To accomplish this, we are undertaking a nationwide study. So anyone living in the 50 United States is eligible to join. And it is what we are calling a siteless research trial, meaning you never have to come to Massachusetts to participate. Everything is done by us interacting with you at home. We have developed a smartphone application that allows us to send you surveys and allows you to send information back to us so we can communicate with you. We send packages to you a couple of times a year that allow you to collect specimens, mostly of skin, but other things like initially we send uh, a saliva tube that you send a saliva sample so that we can do DNA genome sequencing, and a little device that you stick on your arm that allows us to get a small blood sample. And you do that at home and send it back to us. And that way we're able to analyze your skin and other samples remotely. So um, it's kind of an innovative study in that regard. It was a huge amount of work by the entire team to get up and running, figuring out how to work out all of these processes. We've been at it now for over a year and a half. We've had people actively participating in the app, sending and receiving samples, and we're really thrilled with how it's going. But the biggest thing is we want more people. So not only um, more individuals that have vitiligo, but people that are able, if you're in the study, if you have family members that haven't yet joined, we want as big of family member groups as we can get. So the more we can get, the more data we can uh, use to help identify what are those factors that contribute to vitiligo. John and Manuel, jump in and add to my very
Yeah,
brief
so
overview here.
I'll tell one thing. If you are vexed by why, how, and what factors in your life might eventually trigger this disease, this study is for you. And that's why we use all these devices. So for you to tell us if you're stressed, for the devices if you wear a Fitbit to tell us if you're stressed, to be able to know if you got sick and that sickness resulted in disease. All of this that we think may happen, but it's completely unknown, is what this study is all about, is to try to figure it out, and more than anything, to figure it out if it changes markers that makes you closer to get vitiligo, even if you don't have it already. So that's kind of the crux, to be able to detect it even before it happens. For all of this, we need, yes, your help and your samples. That's why we collect all these samples. That's what we use a Fitbit, and that's what we use questionnaires.
Right.
People ask me in clinic all the time, why did I get this? And I tell them, I don't know, but
Right.
we're trying to figure it out now, and you can
Yeah.
help. This is a big part of what you're doing.
Yeah, it's the
Just a
question John always said, always gets, and that's why we designed this study to answer
Yeah,
for everybody, for yeah, and not only to answer the question, but to be able to act upon early markers that will arise after that. So we want to learn what those early markers are. That's why we are. That's and that nothing like this longitudinal study to do so.
Mhm.
just a thanks to Faye Kale who gave the congratulations from Australia. So I think you're farther away than Jean Marie Morin. Sorry, Jean Marie, that's the furthest away. And I just noticed Yuji Yamaguchi is on. Thanks for joining, Yuji. Yuji develops drugs for vitiligo at Pfizer, and so it's great to have a really diverse audience. And then there's a David Brown on the call. Um, I'm guessing you're not my boss, but David Brown is my boss at MGB. So if that's you, I would love to know. Otherwise, thanks for joining.
Great. Um, One of the things that we built into our smartphone application was a rewards tracking system. So the more that you interact with us, the more points you achieve, which get converted into virtual raffle tickets. And twice a year, we hold a raffle and give away gift cards. Virtual like Visa or MasterCard gift cards, so cash. And we had a raffle in December, and so we gave away almost $5,000 in prizes. We do this every 6 months. These are uh, the unique identifiers of those people. And again, all the way up to a couple of $500 winners. So pretty exciting prizes. And again, the more you interact with the study through the smartphone app, the greater your odds are at winning one of these raffle prizes. So again, congratulations to our winners. If you are a part of the study and your ID is shown here and you have not yet received notification of your virtual um, card, please reach out to us because they were sent, so you should have received them. But again, congratulations to all of our winners. Moving on, what we're going to spend, I think, the majority of our uh, programmatic updates talking to you about tonight are wearable devices. And uh, about a year ago, we received supplemental funding from the NIH to be able to add wearable devices like a Fitbit to our study. Our smartphone app has the ability to connect with the Fitbit and send your biometric data, specifically things like heart rate, sleep, skin temperature, uh, to the app, allowing us to track those parameters because we think, could be readouts for certain things that might be triggers of vitiligo. So, for example, is an infection a trigger for vitiligo? Uh, if so, we could track that with a Fitbit by a change in your body temperature. Things related to changes in your heart rate can be reflections of stress. Stress is another factor that has long been hypothesized to be important in vitiligo development. So this gives us a way to get near real-time data from our participants um, through the use of a Fitbit device. So we have uh, obtained enough Fitbits to send them to everyone in the study, and we've sent several hundred of them at this point. Uh, but one of the interesting pieces of feedback that we've heard is, many people already have their own device and they don't want to give up wearing what they already wear, if you wear a Apple Watch or something else, and swap it out for a Fitbit, nor do they necessarily want to wear two watches, although I see Manuel is wearing two at the moment. He's been an important guinea pig for us. And so, Manuel, do you want to maybe talk about what we're updating to be able to do in our study?
Yes. So initially, and to be able to only use one data type, we wanted to standardize the devices. That's what, a scientist really like to do. So yes, I usually wear a Garmin device for my everyday activities, but the Fitbit has one nice feature, which is it does the skin temperature, which as Todd said, we want to use it to determine if somebody who is wearing it got sick, because as John has been said many times, sickness has been reported as a condition before vitiligo. It's not necessarily a trigger, but in many cases seems to somebody got sick, and then years or months later they develop vitiligo, and that's unknown really what the connection is. So we want to really figure out what sickness does to your body and how that eventually leads to vitiligo. So that's what we love that Fitbit sends. It does temperature. My Garmin doesn't. But as we have seen many people wanting to do other devices, we played. So Todd has an Apple Watch. I have the Garmin. Our app allows us to hook both to the app. So our pilots have shown that anybody who wants and is interested in hooking up their own can do so. So what you should do if you are already in the study, or what you should do if you join the study, is contact us and we'll give you the instructions to actually hook your personal device to the app.
Yeah.
And that way we'll support whatever device except for one, which is the Oura Ring. That it's unfortunately for us to access your Oura Ring data, we also need to pay a subscription, and we don't have the funds to do that. So the only device that we're excluding is the Oura Ring.
Right.
And please participate in this aspect of the trial. So if we've sent you a Fitbit and you would consider wearing it, please wear it and send us the data. Or please hook us up to one of your other devices. This is one example. So I saw a paper was just published last week, claiming that just following sleep cycles, sleep behavior, this research team was able to diagnose over 100 diseases, inflammatory diseases. And so when I saw that, I was very surprised, first of all. Not sure I fully believe the claim, number two, but it was a big paper. It might be true. And I immediately sent that to Manuel and said, Manuel, holy cow, look at this. And so and then we can immediately go to you guys and see if vitiligo is one of those diseases that can be diagnosed this way, and we can actually follow what they did in the report and apply it to vitiligo and immediately adopt this. But only if we have your data, only if you're agreeing to
Right.
share it.
Right. And only if we have this data, we can correlate it or use the samples that you send us, because the whole point of this is to do both, right? So take your blood and your skin sample and see if there is any change in your health that might impact the data or the markers that we find in your blood and in your skin. That's the whole point of the study. So
And
yeah,
so,
we depend on this data.
yeah. And so, honestly, it seems a little almost like, sci-fi that you can wear a Fitbit wherever you are, in the country, and we're able to collect meaningful information. But before we deployed this to everyone, we actually did a little pilot experiment with some people in our research group. And because it involves Manuel, I'll let him describe what happened and what the data show.
Yeah, this was an infamous event because I was with John at a conference. So, so yes, I was wearing my Fitbit. We had a type 1 diabetes conference in New York that wanted to know what we were doing for vitiligo, see how it could be translated to type 1 diabetes. So we were both there together. We were sitting together, and I started not to feel very good. And as John says, I leaned onto him and told him, "Hey, John, I'm getting sick. I think maybe we can test how good the device works in identifying that I'm sick or not." So yeah, I left the conference. I went back. I took the train back to Boston where I was sick, and once we look at the data, it was clear that my temperature was recorded. That blip that you see, those reds there, is for the 2 days that I had a fever. The fever was not too high; it was about 101 or so. So it recorded it clearly. I have never had a temperature like that recorded, except if you would follow up a little bit the data. In October, I had the flu, and I believe I saw my data, and I also it also captures it perfectly, like I have the flu. So the resolution at which the device can tell us when you got sick is exactly what we dream about correlating with the changes in the data that we get from your actual skin and blood samples. So that's the whole point. That's where we are excited about people wearing these devices.
Yeah. And so, as John was saying a moment ago, getting everyone that's in the study to um, share this information with us, to hook up their Fitbit or other device to the study and to be wearing that device is really important. And again, I don't know who Manuel or John wants to talk about this. This is sort of like the pipeline, if you will, of everyone in the study down to who, as of today, is actually sending their data back to us.
Yeah. So Thomas and Isaac are the ones who are monitoring the device shipping and wearing. So we have 135, actually it's a little bit more now, but we had 135 participants in the study. So all of you are eligible to get a Fitbit. Out of those, so in order for us to send you the device, you need to confirm your address so we don't send it to the wrong place. So people who have consented and verified their address are in those 375. We have sent all those devices to you. That's the 352. We had a few that have been consenting. I think it's a little bit old, so people consent and they don't get a device until the next week. And what we see is from the 352, about 200 have hooked the device to the app. And what we see is about 20% of you really wear the device often, which is what we really need. And I do understand because as a group, our team, which is about 10, including Todd and Isaac, that we meet every week. What I've also seen is not everybody in our team wears one of those devices. That's how we are the guinea pigs that we use to actually train the models that we plan to use on the study. So that's why I was wearing it. That's what Isaac wears. That's what Todd wears. So every time that somebody's stressed or somebody gets sick, we try to figure out if we can identify that condition based on the device data. But what I've noticed is it's a little bit of a similar percent of our group does not wear the device as often. So I understand that people might not be super comfortable to wear the device, but if you can and you are willing, it will be wonderful for the study to continuously use the device.
Yeah. Um,
There were
so,
just a couple
oh, go ahead, John.
comments
Yeah.
in the question Q&A that I'm looking at. So a couple of people comment about privacy concerns. So completely understand that. Anytime you send data, that question comes up. We are very well protected. You're de-identified. We actually don't know who you are. We can record your data and link it up to your number and actually understand and perform the study without actually knowing the specifics about you, and that is under lock and key. I don't know if you have any more to add,
Right,
Manuel.
right,
This is
right,
an
right. Yes.
important part of the study.
Right. So we specifically will not record your location. So you cannot even try to allow us to do so. That is not something we collect or ever see. So that was by design. So that's the most sensitive part. We do not ever see your location. You can also decide and check what data you want to share with us. So ideally, what we mostly need is your sleep, your temperature, and your stress. Those are the three things that we really want or are hoping to obtain. Everything else is voluntary, and we don't really have a strong use for that. So, and as John said, everybody is identified by that VIGOR ID that you saw at the beginning for the winners of the raffle. That's how every participant is identified for most of the scientists in this study. Only a few of us, John, Isaac, Todd, me, and three others that are clinical and approved to work with human studies, have access to you as a person. I mean, so if you ask us questions, we can reply to you. But most of the group only can see what we call unidentifiable data that is associated to your VIGOR ID, not to your name or address or anything like that.
So we're getting close to being ready to fully jump into the Q&A, but I just wanted to uh, spend a couple of minutes just going over uh, how to get involved. So, as I mentioned at the very beginning, we have a study website. It's listed here, vigor.umassmed.edu. And if you go there, you can find out a lot of information about the study design and uh, how we're conducting it, who the people on the team are. We have a blog that has a lot of interesting information, including some of our newsletter posts. You can access old uh, webinars. We've been doing this now for, I think, over 2 years, webinars every 6 months. So we have previous webinars archived on the website as well. And then, most importantly, right at the uh, homepage when you log or enter into that website is a button to enroll today. If you click on that, that's how you send us your first bit of information indicating that you're interested in joining our study. So if you're not a participant in the study yet, but are interested in joining us, that's where you start. That's kind of a notification to us, and we will do an initial round of screening about your eligibility and sort of go from there. Maybe Manuel, you want to briefly talk about the steps of getting all the way into the study.
Right. But before I do, so this is a family study. And why so? So most of us have about 2% chance of developing vitiligo in our lifetime. That's kind of the general frequency of seeing the disease. But if you're a family of somebody who has vitiligo, then your risk increases by threefold to 6 or 8%. So to answer the questions that we posed at the beginning, we want both people who have vitiligo to understand why it might get better or worse during your lifetime, as well as those who do not have vitiligo, but are family members of those who have, that might developing during the study, so we can figure out what happened and how did that happen. That's what we need, both everybody, both people who have as well as people who do not have vitiligo. And what is how do you do it? So yes, you click on that Enroll Today button in our website, and that leads you to a form that you fill telling us, who you are, whether you have or you don't have vitiligo, how many family members you think they will be interested in joining. And we receive that. And if you qualify, and I've seen a few people posting, how can we enroll from Canada? And no, so part of to qualify for the study, you have to be a U.S. resident. You have to reside in one of the 50 states. We cannot support foreign people right now. Our institutions do not support sending samples from another or receiving sample from a different country. So unfortunately, if you are from Canada, we would love to have you, but yes, we can't at this point. Hopefully, in a next iteration of this project. So once you send that first form and we deem that you qualify for the study, then what we send you back is an email that you can then forward to your family members, that they will then sign up to a different form that is linked to you. So we know all of you are from the same family. And then once everybody has signed up, we send you an invitation to download the app and join the study. That's how the process works.
And then in addition to the website, I just want to make sure everybody has our study email address, which is vigor@umassmed.edu. This is constantly monitored by our team, and we try to be extremely responsive to every email that comes in. So if you have questions about how do I enroll, gone through those steps that Manuel just listed and you're not sure if you did it right or whatever, you can send us an email. If you're a member of the study, you've already signed up and you have a question about integrating your Fitbit with your app or anything else, uh, use this email to reach out to our study team. We do actually hear from people quite frequently, and it's great. That feedback we get from the participants in the study is hugely valuable to us. So if you're in the study and you've been contacting us, that's great. Keep it up. If you are in the study and haven't, uh, don't be afraid to contact us. The way that we make this study as good as we possibly can is in a large part based on feedback that we receive from you. So again, reach out to us at any point. Um, John, you look like you're.
Yep. I just wanted to say I'm really proud of the study team and what they've accomplished through this study. It really takes so many more people than you see here, the four of us here, as well as many, many more, with regular weekly meetings and communication and feedback and back and forth. It's really a major part of our lives and their lives. Thank you to you as well that are making all this possible. So my two comments are about the team and then you. One of the members of our team and the co-leaders of this project is Manuel. And I don't know how many of you are aware, but Manuel actually was a major part of the Human Genome Project. So you probably have heard of that. The reason why the human genome, all of the DNA in humans was sequenced, was in part because of Manuel. And I'm very excited that I was able to convince him that vitiligo is a really, really important thing to study, because we have somebody of that caliber, someone who sequenced the human genome and analyzed it and reported all that we know about the human genome, is focused on your disease and how to help you. So that's a big thing. We recruited great people to the team, as I said. We communicate regularly. That's why this study is working, and this is the first study of its kind. The second thing, though, I just want to talk about it because Manuel and I were just meeting um, and talking about some of the blood that you've sent us. So one of the big asks that we've asked is that you use the Tasso device that collects your own blood at home. That's a big ask, I think. Very few people are, even my colleagues, other doctors aren't aware that you can collect your own blood at home and send it back to us. And you're doing that. And very successfully, by the way. I think Tasso claims that their success rate is somewhere in the 85% range. And your success rate is in the 95% range or better. And so you guys are much better than average at getting this to work. And the blood that you've sent, we've started to already analyze for what we call autoantibodies. This is just a marker that the immune system leaves in your blood when it starts attacking one of your cells. In this case, melanocytes to cause white spots. We can start to see these antibodies in your blood and understand which ones correlate, which ones reflect having vitiligo. And because we have family members who don't have vitiligo, they're a fantastic control. Anyway, we don't have the data. We're not going to show you yet. We're not ready to report it yet, but we're seeing some incredibly promising results already that have never been described before. And it's only because you're sending us your blood. We have people of Manuel's ability to analyze data. We have Todd, who actually came up with the idea of how to even analyze this to find autoantibodies. The team is working, and you're sending us your samples successfully, and we're making discoveries. So it's incredibly exciting. We're in this together, and we're making great progress. So we're going to continue to do that. Like I said, I sent the paper to Manuel about sleep, and Manuel's like looked at it and said we can do this. So thanks for partnering with
And
us.
if you want to see how the Tasso device works, there are a couple of videos of me using the device on our website, one in Spanish and one in English for both. So yes, if you're curious how it works, you can check it out.
So let's dive into some of the questions. I know Isaac has been helping to monitor some as we've gone along, but there are some I think that are broadly interesting to many people here. So a couple of questions about enrolling and joining the study. So can you define everyone in the family? Is it immediate family or extended family? Who do you want?
Everyone. So everyone in the family is welcome to join. Yeah, that's the rule. If anybody, if a member of your family is interested, please, yes, we'll be happy to host them.
Yeah. And related to that, is it more beneficial to have parents of a person with vitiligo or siblings, or is it the same, or who is most valuable?
So I would say everybody is valuable in the study, right? Because genetics is a big component. So the more we can understand where the vitiligo and how we trace it back in your family tree to how it came is the better. So everybody is really welcomed. Now, yes, so that's it.
I was just going to say, it's for those who are interested, a parent and child share half of their DNA. Siblings share a quarter of your DNA, unless you're an identical twin, and then you share 100% of your DNA. And we know all of this. Manuel has all this recorded, and as we analyze the data, we're able to incorporate those relationships and the closeness or distance of those relationships. I don't know what cousins share, Manuel, but as you get further out, those are still important because we track the shared DNA, and we're able to look at the data accordingly. So all of it's really important, and it's all fascinating.
Yeah. So do participants receive any personal feedback as to their risk of developing vitiligo or progression of vitiligo when you're
I'll
participating?
take that. We would love to do that, and we talk about that as a team all the time. We are now using this data to discover what puts you at risk, and so we actually don't have that data yet. We haven't validated that. We don't have a hospital test to be able to tell you that, well, this is your risk of vitiligo. We have some hints. We have some ideas, but we can't actually share the data until we know what we're talking about. So. Part of the excitement about this trial is that you're participating in the initial discovery of this. Part of the frustration could be that we're not ready to deliver that answer to you yet because we don't want to give you the wrong answer, and that's really, really important information. But as soon as we can, of course, when we feel confident in the data, that's when all this will come into play.
So, Manuel, maybe this one's for you. How do we know if we have successfully done what is necessary for you to receive the data? So, they've done what is necessary with the kit and sent it back, and everything's good.
Right. So two ways. So I'll answer in two ways. So if you're talking about enrolling and getting there, so you will receive a mail saying, hey, you have enrolled, download the app. And what is the app? I'll try to put it right here. So this is how the app looks, right? So once you enroll, the idea is you download this app on your phone. And this is the app that we use to kind of know that you have been successfully getting us the data. So I'll give you an example. So we send you a kit every 6 months, and the kit contains the TASO device that John has mentioned to get your blood sample. It contains also something called a tape strip that you can pull a little bit of your skin. It doesn't really hurt. It's just the superficial skin sample. It contains another thing called a micro patch that is also gets you some of the skin interstitial fluid. So you put that back into your box, which comes back to us. And then we have a person, Laura, who takes that kit and takes the three devices and stores them in the fridge. She scans the ID of the person who had sent this back. And then we have an application that says, okay, we got this in. And Isaac goes into that application. Isaac is one of the few that also goes to the data that is stored about you and then updates the status saying, hey, we've received that applications from this VIGOR participant. So that's how we do. So we rely on the app to know everything that you are reporting to us, your surveys, that you received the kit, that you are sending us the kit. And then once things are here, we update the application from here to tell you that yes, we have received the kit. So that's what Isaac does every once a week, for example. Hopefully that clarifies a little bit how we know that we get what you have.
So this next question probably is best for you, John. It's actually not specific to the study. It's more about vitiligo and its treatment in general, but I think it might be interesting for a lot of people. So this is a person asking for an adult son who has non-segmental vitiligo. Will pausing Opzelura cause white patches to depigment? Is Opzelura needed every day of the year? Is it like stopping your blood pressure medicine? If you stop it, your blood pressure goes back up.
Yeah,
So, yeah, if you want to weigh in, maybe also give a little explanation what Opzelura is as well, in case there's people who
sure.
aren't familiar with that.
Opzelura is a cream that is the first FDA-approved medication for vitiligo. And our lab actually did the research that led to the development of Opzelura, and we actually were the first to test Opzelura and show that it was useful in phase 2 clinical trials. So we were very excited about it. We prescribe it. It is like most medicines, only works when you're using it. And when you stop, it's not a cure. So the disease can come back, and it will. We actually have data. I can't remember how much we've published at this point, but there is now data showing that if you stop Opzelura, like any treatment, vitiligo eventually comes back. It takes time. So about 40% of people, of users, will see vitiligo come back within a year of stopping it. So that means 60% won't see it come back within a year, and it might take even longer. Ultimately, vitiligo typically comes back if you stop treating. It does not mean if you skip a day, vitiligo will come back. So we actually think once you're better and happy, if you use Opzelura or other treatments just twice a week, that'll be enough to maintain it. So there's a lot to it, but yeah, you have to use it to continue to keep the benefit of it.
Um, and a related question, other than this study, are any drug companies developing drugs to cure vitiligo other than Opzelura cream?
Yes, many. There are many studies that are ongoing, and we should have a webinar. We were thinking about doing an Asking Me Anything, I think, on the web too. So there's a lot of clinical information I'd be happy to give you. There's also a blog that I've written that answer a lot of these questions. But there are many clinical trials that are ongoing to treat vitiligo. A cure is a big step. We're working on the cure, finding the cure. We don't know the cure yet. We don't think any of the drugs currently being tested will be cures, but we're working on better and better treatments.
All right. Next question, probably for you, Manuel. Is there any place to submit our own observations, visually or otherwise, about changes in our vitiligo?
So yes, so if you have developed new spots, or if you have a improvement on vitiligo, then we use the application for you to tell us and even take a picture of your spot as it improves or worsens. And a lot of participants send email to the VIGOR mailbox with ad hoc information that they deem necessary, interesting to share with us. So those are the two places that we can interact with you guys.
Yeah, great. And so just moving along, lots of great questions here. can I share my DNA ancestry raw data? I'm not sure if they mean share data that they've done through ancestry.com with our study or in the other direction, but maybe you want
Right.
to answer both
I
ways.
can do both. So no, we cannot get your data from ancestry.com. We don't have a sharing agreement with them, so they will not share your data with us. We have not explored this really in depth. We also want to do the same DNA sequencing for everybody, so that we prefer just doing it ourselves. We are also not allowed by our institution review board to send you the results back, as this is usually what happens with human studies, that we are not allowed to share your data back to you. This is something maybe John can comment as to how it usually works. He has more experience than me in clinical studies, but this is those are the restrictions that usually have clinical trials
That's
have.
right. Yeah, when any data is shared with you, some of you are commenting in the Q&A, can can I send you my clinical data, or can you send me the data and tell me what my risk is? Some of you are sending, can I send you my Quest data? And the reason there is Quest data, why you can do those labs, is because those tests have been developed and tested and validated and approved by the government as a test for whatever disease, human disease. And so we can't share data back because we have not taken our data in our process through all of those things for clinical use. There are a lot of regulations, and those are important. So we don't harm people. We don't share data with you and say, oh, you've got a risk of this, and it's maybe not true yet. We think you do, but maybe you don't, or your risk is low, and then we make a discovery next week that, oh, actually that risk is really, really high. It's a long process. Science is relatively slow because of how careful we are, and how exacting we are. So that's why we can't share data in either direction. It's really to protect you, but I know it would be exciting, I think. And someday we hope to develop the test that is approved to be able to do that.
The next question, I will start the answer, but anyone else can feel free to jump in after I've started. And so that question is, what autoantibodies are you tracking, if you can share that? So actually, we are working with a platform developed by a researcher who's at Johns Hopkins, who started a company called Infinity Bio. And that platform actually looks at every possible autoantibody that can be produced. So it's something like over 27,000 different specificities. On top of that, the system also looks at every possible virus exposure that a person has ever had. So it looks for antibodies to all viruses known to infect human beings. So we like this because it is completely unbiased, and it allows us to uh, enter into it without any preconceived notions of it should be, this particular specificity or something else. And uh, that's the advantage. The difficulty of it is that it provides mountains and mountains of data, and sifting through the noise for a real signal is challenging. And maybe that's something Manuel, with his background, because he's been the one primarily analyzing this data, wants to weigh in on.
So just to complement Todd, so to my surprise, and actually Todd's too, the last time that something like that was done that I can find was 1983. So that's the last time people tried to determine whether somebody who has vitiligo has also antibodies against melanocyte specifically proteins. What they found then in 83 is that out of the 81 cases that they tested, 61 or something like that, like 80% of them had an antibody to an unknown protein on melanocytes that was targeted. So that was quite specific, because the controls that did not have vitiligo, and even those who had melanoma, had much, much lower reactivity to melanocytes in culture. But they didn't really know which proteins in melanocytes were targeted. That was not really known. So after that, there are very few studies that targeted specific melanocyte proteins. So they had what Todd just said, a preconceived notion of what protein in melanocytes might be a target. And they found that for any of those given proteins, maybe five, maybe a little bit less than 10% of vitiligo cases that they tested against that protein had an antibody against it. So what we're trying to do is bring vitiligo back to the modernity and do a scan against every possible peptide that you might produce that might be targeted by your antibodies as you develop disease. So that's why we're excited with your blood samples, as we can kind of revamp the current knowledge about antibodies in vitiligo and hopefully come up with a panel of the antibodies that are most commonly found in people who have vitiligo, and then how early they arise as people develop disease. That's kind of the one of the goals that we have.
Um, so another question from one of our attendees is kind of interesting because it highlights on another aspect of the study. So maybe both of you want to weigh in different ways. But it says, I'm a VA patient and have vitiligo through aviation chemical exposure. And then this person lists off a number of different chemicals: TCE, methyl ethyl ketone, hydraulic fluid, diesel fuel, other chemicals that they came into contact working in the military. So, would I be helpful in this study? And I'll just add a corollary question. What is known about environmental exposures and vitiligo?
Yeah, I can comment on that. I think lots of people think that environmental exposures can cause autoimmunity. That hypothesis has been around a long time. I think there is no better proof or data or support than in vitiligo. Vitiligo, there are chemicals that cause vitiligo. We know them, and we know a lot about them. And so there is clearly a connection between certain chemical exposures and vitiligo. And I wrote about this on the blog in case you want to know the details. Um, and and so absolutely you'd be useful in the study. And this study is about understanding what causes vitiligo, including chemical exposures. Reports of chemical exposure is one thing. Actually measuring chemical exposures is another, and we have some ideas on how we might be able to do that. We're working on that now. To maybe ask you to do even something else, to wear a bracelet for us someday. That's not ready for prime time yet, but we are definitely very interested in studying all of these things.
Great. So we're getting close to the top of the hour, and being mindful of people's time. Um, we'll make sure that we wrap up right at 8 o'clock Eastern. We have a few questions, and maybe we'll do like we've done in some of our other webinars, uh, a bit of a lightning round. So trying to get through as many questions as quickly as we can. And so we'll uh, go from there. So are you looking at coexistence of other autoimmune diseases in individuals or family members with vitiligo?
So the answer is yes. So as we do with vitiligo, many of you also develop thyroid disease or others. And yes, we are looking at all of them together. So but we rely on you to report that you have any of those. So the answer is absolutely yes.
Uh, do you track hormone levels as well? Could hormone levels affect vitiligo?
We haven't seen correlations with hormone levels in vitiligo yet. We don't see vitiligo happen during puberty. We don't see it change during menopause. We don't see it change during early pregnancy. So we don't know of correlations yet, and we are not able to measure them right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. Um, do you know uh, if there exists any study on how mitochondria and its DNA plays a role in vitiligo?
Yeah, we are not sequencing the mitochondrial DNA, although we do have the data, but we have not gone into looking at that. It's something we could do. We have not plans on doing so. Yes, that's
Interesting. Mitochondrial is
interesting.
inherited from your mother.
Mhm.
And so if we saw indications through the genetics of a specific maternal connection, that would be a place to look.
Right. Yes, and we could look at this. Yes.
Are you interested in life events to correlate with stress as picked up by the Fitbit? For example, illness like flu or long um, or long-term things like cancer, household move, death of a family member, job loss.
Right. Yes. So that's what we rely on you to report on your app. And we use your wearable, if you're wearing it, to pinpoint the exact timing at which your stress or your thing was highest. And hopefully then correlate with the antibodies that we see in your blood to determine if it was an infection, what caused the infection. That's kind of how we integrate all this data together.
Uh, I saw recently that GLP-1s have been found to potentially be beneficial for treating psoriasis. Is anyone studying GLP-1s for vitiligo as well?
We'll do that here. If you're on a GLP-1 and you tell us, we're going to track and see what that does to your vitiligo.
Mhm.
Um, should an adult person with non-segmental vitiligo be concerned with getting vaccines like the annual flu shot, for example?
Generally, no. Anytime the immune system causes vitiligo, so anytime you activate the immune system, like with a vaccine, there's probably a small risk, but we have not seen any strong correlation between getting vaccinated and worsening vitiligo at this time.
Great. Does the study delve into the secondary comorbidities of vitiligo, such as tinnitus, migraines, eye problems, IBS?
That is an insightful question. So there are melanocytes. The targets of vitiligo are melanocytes that pigment the skin. They also live in the inner ear and in the eye and in the brain. And so they can cause ringing in the ears. You can imagine if there's inflammation there. The answer is yes, if you report that to us. So we're looking for anything that could possibly correlate. Manuel's amazing ability to dig into complicated data and pull things out, we're going to rely on. But you've got to tell us about it.
Yep.
Um, why does it seem to appear that more elderly people are developing vitiligo?
Well, 80% of people who get vitiligo do so before the age of 30. So it generally happens in younger people. 20% get it after the age of 30. And I've seen patients well into their 70s getting vitiligo for the first time. So we don't see more. I would say that older people are more likely to have vitiligo because it's a cumulative thing, right? So by the time you're 70, you were also 20 at one point. Maybe you got it then. But we're not seeing it happen later in life, increasingly more common.
And if I can put a plug, in one of our previous webinars, we showed data that was reported by you that clearly showed that there are really two modes of vitiligo, one that is very early around your teenage years that occurs, and the other one that is later that peaks around your 30s, as John said. And yeah, I think a year ago we went through that data, I think at the same time. So the webinar is posted. If you're curious, we should be discussing that there, showing you the data.
Um, So with that, we're at 7:58. We got through a ton of questions. One of the things that we've tried to do is also record the questions that we didn't get to so we can follow up with answers to those. And um, with that, again, I'll reiterate that this recording will get posted so that you can view it and share it. Manuel, did you want to
Yes, if
make a
if I'm
plug?
I'm going to put pressure on Isaac and Todd, because if they save the questions, my commitment is I will answer as many as I can in the next newsletter, and if there are some remaining, I will try to do it for the one following. So that's my commitment. I'll take all the questions that you ask and try to answer them.
Um, and so, with that, again, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Love the question and answer. We've been doing these now, like I said, for 2 years, and the question and answer sessions are always super interesting and engaging, and we really appreciate your participation in these events. So, thank you all for joining, and we will see you again for one of these in the summer.
Thanks, everybody. It's been
Thank
fun.
you. Have a good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Right.